Brave, 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 brave. The Brave Alliance is 6 months old. What started as Matty Esotero's dream of a few new players banding together to help each other has grown into the third largest alliance in all of New Eden. For the first time, newbies have deployed to Nullsec to carry out operations in 9GYL. Like deployments prior, it has been a laboratory to see how newbies can handle new tactics and a new lifestyle. So far, the newbies have crushed all opposition, destroyed numerous capital ships, and secured billions in economic interests. While the ships are bigger and the fleets are larger and better organized than those early days, at their core, they still remain true to the vision Mattius put forth at the very beginning.
There had come a culture in Eve, I realized, that made it a bit of a day job, and if you didn't like to play the game that way, well, you weren't going to find any large corps with huge amounts of activity or something like that. So my idea was, hey, first of all, we're all here because we actually want to enjoy our free time. We're not getting paid for this. This is not a day job. So let's stop doing that and let's focus on what's important in it, which is playing the actual game with all its good parts and bad parts.
Frustrated by the established order's rigid, dogmatic view of how to live in New Eden, Matty Esotero, along with a handful of others, created Brave Newbies Incorporated on February 2nd, 2013.
Basically, I founded the Corp A because I didn't know what I was actually doing. But what happened basically is that, like a lot of us, I joined EVE for like the third time or third trial. After the huge fight at Asakai and all the reports about tens and thousands of dollars being destroyed in space. For apparently no reason at all, which sounded pretty awesome. So, I wanted to join EVE as well and be part of that.
With financial assistance from the other Reddit-based corporations like Reddit and Test, Brave Newbies moved to a more centralized system, Heck, to begin combat operations there. Almost instantaneously, they were met with hostility. Fleets came across the galaxy to shoot at the Newbie Corp and collect easy kill mails.
Most of us could only fly like Rifters. I think a couple guys had Slashers, and then and I may be wrong here, but I think Sukasa is the one that actually taught us about setting up a T1 Rupture gang. Nobody really thought that this was anything. We didn't think it was going to be as big as it was. When we had joined up and formed Brave Newbies, we were, I think Mattias was 2 weeks old. I was literally a day and a half old. And we just formed it up just to grab a couple guys. Think like our director of internal affairs, Nicholas Aderon, he came like a day or two after us, and we were just flying these little ragtag fleets. Our first issue was I think when we hit our first member cap, which was like at 10, and then we had a guy come in who actually had court management skills to sit in it for a second and to give it back to us. And then all of a sudden, the surge just came out of absolutely nowhere.
Meanwhile, in Heck, things were slowly deteriorating. The growing list of Vortex were harassing newbies daily, which had leadership scrambling to encourage newbies to keep logging on and trying to fight. It was also during this time that the now famous 7-0 became the Newbie Salute, many say as a result of too much bourbon being drank to wash away their frigates.
Even though we couldn't really do a lot of DPS, we still had a shitload of people, so we could at least focus fire and get one person. But we really had some very, very weird issues. We didn't know anything about docking or stuff like that, so there's a lot of things that we had to learn very, very quickly in order to even just live. And then I will say that it was actually a very frustrating time, though. I think we were having fun, but there was so much losing, and we didn't really know how to fix it. We knew that we needed the knowledge, but we didn't know what it was that we didn't know.
117, this bogey's all over me. He's got pistol lock on me. Do I have permission to fire?
Do not fire until fired upon.
The culture of the Corp at the time, it wasn't really well defined. There were probably about 100 people in the Corp total. and it was just kind of a lot of people getting to know each other at the time. Matthias was on. I think there were a couple people that knew what the fuck they were doing, and there were about 98 people that had no idea what was going on. So kind of similar to today.
I was burnt out of Eve. I had been playing in test for a little bit, and one of my friends that I was playing, he basically found the Brave Newbies Incorporated at the time, and I was like, hey, this is really fun, so I eventually dropped an ult in, and that was back in the heck. And, you know, it was pretty much, Re&I at the time was pretty much doing exactly about what I expected of it. It was fairly chaotic, there were a handful of people pulling the strings, and to be honest, it wasn't very organized. It was having a fuck ton of fun, and every single person was as well, and it was absolutely glorious.
At the time Montre joined BNI, there were over 15 high-sec war decks going on at the same time. By the end of February, the first doctrine, Arty Ruptures, along with a horde of tackle frigates, were able to break the near 15-corp war deck blockade of Heck, downing a multi-billion-isk Balgorn and its pod. Unfortunately, the Balgorn pilot was kicked from his war deck corporation upon news of his loss to the Brave Newbies.